Jerry Hadley was everything to me. He changed my life. I met him and he gave me clarity on how to sing, how to be a performer, how to be an artist, how to be a better person. And so he influenced me so greatly just by knowing him. And I didn't really realize how much his death would also influence me artistically as well. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, performing when I heard that Jerry had shot himself. And I was devastated. I mean, here was my best friend. Yes, he was going through some hard times, and we spoke almost every day. I had no idea. I think in these situations, most people don't really know. And so it was a shock. I had a week left on my contract, and I had to finish my performing. And he was in a coma for that week. And it was really hard. It was, man, it just was devastating. So we were touring Naughty Marietta, and we took it to a town that was right near the Oklahoma-Texas border. And I was with a very good friend of mine, Kathy Venable, who is a wonderful pianist. She's just phenomenal at everything that she does. And Kathy was playing in the pit. She was our rehearsal pianist as well for this show. And Kathy had worked with Jerry and I for a couple of lessons. And so she knew how important he was to me and got to meet him and know him and instantly become friends with him too. And I said to her when we were on tour, we had a day off before my flight back home. And it was to get us back to Tulsa. So here we are. I've got a car. We had a day off, and I'm on the Texas border. And so I said to Kathy, I said, I think I got to go to the Alamo. I think I need to go see it. I got to go.
We figured San Antonio is not that far from wherever we were in Oklahoma. I think it was many, many hours. But we decided the last performance to go to the cast party and say goodbye to everyone and then get in the car and drive to the Alamo and make a pilgrimage.
It was an awesome road trip. I was still devastated in dealing with everything that I was dealing with, in realizing the reality of the situation with Jerry, and yet was so driven to get there and to be at the Alamo for him.
And I also remember that when we got there, I had a very not good little digital camera, and that was before everybody's phones had cameras. And so we have a couple, if I remember correctly, we have a couple of rather foggy pictures of us at the Alamo. Just hardly anything came out from my camera. So that almost made it more of a kind of a spiritual, special thing, because most of it exists only in our memories. We don't have Facebook pictures to prove that we were there at 7 a.m.
We got there at the most beautiful time of day. It was perfect. The sun was just coming up and nobody was there. Just the guard that was standing there. And Kathy and I pulled up, got a great parking spot. And what was so poetic about it was that we showed up just about the same time that the battle started at the Alamo at dawn. It meant a lot. It was great. Then we drove back, got back to Tulsa, and got on a plane, went home. And the day that I got back, Jerry had passed away. It was tough at first. Every time I would sing, I would just break down and cry. And it was because I could hear his voice. I could hear him talking to me, telling me what to do. And so, I mean, every time I sang, I just thought of him, and it just broke my heart.
The thing about your voice, that it's the beauty in your voice, Brian, and when you don't allow the beauty to come in, what we see is someone who's a very proficient technician. But that's beautiful. That's beautiful, expressive singing. See, when you sing like that, you become a part of the music. And in a sense, then you don't really have to interpret much.
I realized something, and it was something that Jerry had been saying, but I had never really understood it. And I realized that I was kind of under his shadow, and I was trying to mimic his sound. And when you don't have that influence right next to you, you are freer to kind of be your own person. And it ended up being like this wonderful realization that, and it was what he was teaching me all along, which was when you sing this way, when you sing naturally with this physicality, you create your own sound. You don't sound like anyone else. You have your sound. And that's what I started to embrace by doing that. I realized that it's okay that I don't sound like anybody else. I can have my sound.
I had the fun of doing these musical theater things with him in Tulsa, like Naughty Marietta, Sweeney Todd. Then he did Candide the summer after Jerry passed, and that was really amazing because that was the last role that he worked on with Jerry and one of Jerry's roles. That was a really special experience, and it was fun to watch and hear his voice develop throughout all of these years of doing these different productions. And I thought by the time he got to Candide, his voice was just in full flower, and it was just as good as it could ever get. Now, that was a few years ago, so it's come even farther now.
And so have I, but come and be my wife, and let us try before we die to make some sense of life. We're neither pure nor wise nor good.
He now has the ability to impress the Broadway people, to impress the opera people. He certainly has the chops for any operetta thing that would come along, but his voice just continues to bloom, and the high notes get easier, and higher high notes get easier. Everything is fuller and richer and easier, which I'm just glad I knew him at the beginning, so I can see the journey. It's been really fun.
There were people along the way soon after Jerry died that were saying, you should study with this teacher, study with that teacher. And my gut was just, no. I have a teacher. He taught me everything. He showed me the way, and I just need to trust that. I need to trust our friendship. I need to trust everything that our relationship was and what he taught me. So I did. I didn't study with anyone. I stayed true to the technique that he taught me, and I recorded a lot of our lessons, and I would listen back. Sometimes I could and get through it, and sometimes I couldn't because it was too tough. But it really helped me. It helped ground me and stay really connected with this perspective of what changed me as a singer, what do I need to do, and what's my job? How do I stay grounded with this technique? And that's what I've been doing. So I really became an absolute disciple of this perspective, this technique, and my voice has gotten better and better. and it feels easier and easier. And what I have realized throughout all of this is that it's gotten me to a point where I'm really reaching that original goal, finding my voice.
Una furtiva lacrima